Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Penny and today is my very first non-introductory video, so yay! And before we get started though, I wanted to introduce you to someone that you're going to be seeing an awful lot of. This is Layla. She is perfect and amazing and she's going to be in a lot of videos. Also, if you like cats, definitely subscribe to my Instagram, which is linked down below, because even though I try to make it about books, it ends up being about cat. So, hi everyone. She's a little bit grumpy, so I'm going to go ahead and put her down. And we'll get started on today's video. So again, welcome back. Today's video is going to be my March 2020 TBR. And before I go into the TBR, something you guys should know about me is that I tend to set really unrealistic goals for myself because I have a problem. So for example, the month of March has 31 days in it, and I have 31 books on my TBR. It was originally 50. Yeah, again, I have a problem. Realistically, I know I probably am not going to finish my March TBR. I usually don't finish my TBR, but I do want to try. And I do think too that it's not unrealistic since I have a good number of poetry collections and graphic novels, which really only take me an hour or two. So hopefully I'll be able to get to them. We'll see, but I am going to try. So let's get started. So to begin the video, we're going to start off with the poetry collections that I picked up from my local library. I never really thought I'd become a poetry fan. I think because in high school and college, we always focused on classic poetry, which I don't like. Recently, I did discover Amanda Lovelace, and I loved her poetry, so it prompted me to go to the library and try to find some other modern poetry that I might like. So I'm very hopeful for these, although one of them is technically classic. Let's actually start off with the classic poetry. This is Live Oak with Moss by Walt Whitman. I've never read this poem. I know nothing about it. I do think that this is the poem where he talks about being attracted to men, which is something that he kept secret during his lifetime. So I think that'd be really interesting to read. I've only ever read his more famous poems, but that's not why I picked this up. This book is incredible. So it does contain the poem. So it has the poem in the middle of the book. But the thing that really made this unique for me, can't show that page on YouTube. I'm trying to find a page that I can actually show you guys. Okay, so the thing about this book is that it's actually the poem told through illustrations done by Brian Sosnick. I think this is a really unique way to do a poetry collection or retell a poetry collection. There's a lot of nudity, just FYI. But I would love to see more poetry collections done like this. If you guys know of any, definitely let me know because this is amazing. Also, this is a beautiful book. It has gold sprayed edges, which are amazing. Gold is my favorite color. Yeah. And the whole book is just beautifully done. Like, it's so colorful. The art is amazing. I can't wait to read this. I actually think I might end up picking it up tonight and finishing it. So next up, we have a poetry collection by Mary Oliver called The Truro Bear and Other Adventures. Now, this is a collection of both poems and essays about animals. And my library had quite a few of her collections, but I went with this one because I love nature and ecology and reading about animals, so I thought this would be a good starting point. Mary Oliver did pass away last year or in 2018, and I'm disappointed that I didn't know who she was until she died, so I'm trying to make up for that by reading all of her collections. Next up, we have a relatively new to me poet. This is The Tradition by Jericho Brown. Now, I discovered him. I don't even remember how I got to this website, but it was for a magazine called Gun and Garden, which sounds amazing. And they had an interview with him. So I ended up reading the interview, and that prompted me to find some of his readings of his poems on YouTube. And I ended up really loving his poetry. So I found this at my local library and was really excited about it. I also love the topic of the poetry in this. It's about terrorism, like domestic terrorism, school shootings, rape, murders, police brutality. So the poem's about experiencing those things and living through them or giving up, and I'm very intrigued by what he has to say about those topics. So next we have a poetry collection by Ursula K. Le Guin, and this is actually the final poem she wrote before she died in 2018, I believe. I have read The Left Hand of Darkness and I loved it. Everything about that story I loved, and I have really been wanting to kind of experiment with her other books. I just don't know where to start because it's a little bit daunting. If you guys know of what I should read next from her, definitely let me know in the comments because I really do want to read her other sci-fi books. But this is So Far So Good, Final Poems 2014 to 2018. And I feel like this is going to be kind of sad because I know it's basically Ursula K. Le Guin writing about her life and her memories and the people she's known. So I feel like it is going to have a little bit of a melancholy spin to it. But I'm still super excited to read it just because I like the way she writes. And then we have Kevin Young's There Darkness. The only thing I know about this collection is that it was inspired by the sudden death of his father. So another melancholy poetry collection. And I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I have heard that Kevin Young writes poetry in a very unique style, sort of like the blues. It has like a musical quality to it. It's very similar to the blues. And I find that really intriguing. There's another collection of his called Jelly Roll that I wanted to read, but they didn't have that, so I went with this one. And then we have one that I'm excited about and very curious about. This is The Flame by Leonard Cohen. I love his music, but I had no idea that he published collections of poetry. I don't know what it's about, but I'm going to give it a try, and I hope that I like it as much as I love his music. Now, the next book isn't technically a poetry collection, but that's where I found it, so I don't know if my library just didn't know what to classify this as. This is Heating and Cooling by Beth Ann Finley, and it is 52 micro memoirs. Now, I'm very intrigued by this format. It's literally just 52 very short stories about her life. I'm trying to find an example. So, like, some of them are less than a paragraph, some of them are a page or two. I don't know anything about Beth Ann Finley's life. I'm not sure who she is. And it doesn't, oh, she's a writer. Never heard of her, but I'm super intrigued by this format. And I just think it's going to be a really unique way to tell your story. Alright, so those were the poetry collections that I have for the month of March. I know I'm going to get to all of them because they're very short and because I really do want to experiment with more poetry in my life. I think I'm most excited in that collection about the Walt Whitman ones is because it's told through illustration, which again I think is phenomenal and I can't wait to read it. Okay, so moving on to graphic novels, I have 3 that I am super excited to get to. And 2 of them are the same, like comic series, but volume 1 and 2. So we'll start off with Your Illustrated Guide to Becoming One with the Universe by Yumi Sekigawa. Now, again, this is another book that I have never heard of. I saw it at the library and decided to try it out. But I'm really excited because this is a very simplistic, it's a very simplistic journey of self-discovery. and it's told through very simple black and white illustrations. So again, this is something that's not going to take me more than half an hour to finish, but I think there's going to be a lot of really great content in this. And then we have the two graphic novels that I'm most excited about. I think out of all the books in this TBR, this might actually be like top 5 that I'm excited about. So I have volume 1 and 2 of Firefly by Joss Whedon. I really was one of those people that loved Firefly. I'm sad that it's gone. I love Serenity except for the last half hour of it, which didn't happen. But I'm really excited to get back into that universe with these two graphic novels. And the art style is beautiful. It's very colorful, nice clean lines. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. Okay, so now we're getting to the novels and the nonfiction. There are a lot of books, so I hope you have a cup of coffee, and I'm just gonna get right into it. So the very first book is one I got from the library, and it is Sword of Destiny by Andrzej Sapkowski. I loved The Last Wish, which is which is a collection of short stories, as is this one, and I loved it. I discovered The Witcher through the video game The Witcher 3, which I have played at least 5 times, and it still is not getting old. And I love the TV show that Netflix came out with. I'm looking forward to season 2. But this is a collection of short story. It's one of the newer, I think it might actually be the newest Witcher book to come out, but chronologically it's the second book, and it comes before the very first full-length novel. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to read The Blood of Elves, which I already own. Also, in case you didn't notice, I do have Dandelion with me and Geralt of Rivia. Again, I really like The Witcher. So the next book is probably one that no one but I will care about, and that is Pisgah National Forest History. So if you've come from my blog, you know that I spent all of my 20s living in Asheville, North Carolina. I miss the mountains. I love the mountains. So when I saw this at the library, I didn't even think about it. I just grabbed it. I have climbed Mount Pisgah. I've hiked it. I didn't go like mountain climbing, but I have hiked to the top of Mount Pisgah, and it's beautiful. The first time I went, it was a really foggy morning, and when you got to the top, there's like a watchtower, like a fire tower, and if it's foggy, you get to the top and all you can see is white. And it was a really amazing experience. It made you feel like you were the only person in the universe. And it was so beautiful and quiet and serene. And I can't wait to go hiking there on my next trip to Asheville. So yeah, this is just something that interested me. It has a lot of photographs in it, and it talks about the history of the Forest Service and Mount Pisgah. And I cannot wait to read this. I'm so excited. Then we have a book that's a little bit out of my comfort zone. As I said in my introductory video, I do read from every genre. There's nothing that I purposefully avoid. But one genre that I'm new to is romance. So I picked up the Bromance book club by Lissa K. Adams. You've probably seen this book on BookTube and on Instagram. It's a romance novel about a group of guys who have a book club where they read romance novels to spice up their lives with their spouses. I love the concept of this. I think it's going to be really funny and very cute. And the sequel actually comes out in March. So it's a really good time to go ahead and read this. And so this next book is one that I don't think is going to have mass appeal to people, but I love nonfiction travel stories. And this is written by NPR's David Green. It is called Midnight in Siberia, and it's about his experience taking a train across Siberia. That sounds amazing for so many reasons. First of all, I love really remote areas and hearing about the people that live there, which is probably why I want to buy a house on top of a mountain with no neighbors. I'm a little bit of a recluse. And also, I've always wanted to take a long scenic, and also, I've wanted to, wow. And also, I've always wanted to take a long scenic train ride. I know there are a bunch of places that do it. I've always wanted to try that, and for the time being, I'm going to live vicariously through this author. Next book is also nonfiction. It's one that was sent to me by the publisher, Random House, and I'm very thankful for it. I needed to read it when it came out, but I just went through a lot at the end of January with my mental health and medication changes, so I'm going to get to it now. This is State Raised Garden by Jasmine Drain. This is a book about the south side of Chicago. Which, as many people know, there's a lot of crime and gang activity there. So this is about people that live in that area and the stories that they have. This one is Death is But a Dream by Dr. Christopher Carr. This is a book that was also sent to me by the publisher. I don't know much about it, but I do know that it's about the doctor's experience working in hospice. It's definitely not an exciting and fun topic, but I think it's one that's really important, as I think a lot of Americans tend to avoid thinking about death, and then when it happens, we're really caught off guard. So something like this I think is really important to read about and to just know what the experience is like. I am looking forward to reading this. Again, I don't think it's going to be a happy book, so I might read it at the same time as like the Bromance book club, so I have something a little lighter when I need it. And then we have another book from the publisher, one that also I should have read at the end of 2018, but just didn't have time to. This is Lost Feast by Lenora Newman. The reason I requested this book is that it's about the foods that we're losing to extinction due to climate change, overpopulation, any number of reasons. And I think that's a topic that's really important. I know things like coffee, bananas, in the future they are going to be more scarce if we don't work now to protect them. So I think reading this book is going to be really interesting. Also, I love books about the history of food and the culture surrounding food. So I think this is going to be a really unique reading experience. Now, this is also a new release. This is an arc of Andrew Krivak's The Bear. I think this is a post-apocalyptic story. It says it's a gorgeous fable of Earth's last two human inhabitants in a guard's Johnny home. So I think it's going to be like an adventure story that is post-apocalyptic. And I think there's actually a talking bear in this. Yes, okay. So the bear is going to lead her back home. I don't know if it talks. I hope it talks. But I am really, really looking forward to this. Also, the cover is beautiful. I think this is the final cover that the publisher ended up going with, and I think it's beautiful. I'm just going to stop saying that these are from the publisher because I think all but 3 of these are from the publisher. So I'll just tell you the ones that are not. This one is Clara Bean's The Illness Lesson. I know I requested this, but I don't remember what it's about. It is historical fiction set in Massachusetts, but I don't need to know anything about it. I'm just going to go into it blind. But the one reason I really wanted to point this book out and get to it is that the cover is amazing. I love the embroidery style of this. It's not something I've seen very often, but I think it's really beautiful, and I would love to see more books come out like this. And then we have a new book that I think just came out. This is No Bad Deed by Heather Chavez. Mystery thrillers are another genre like romance that I'm trying to get more into because it's something that I never really read a lot of growing up. I don't know much about this. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself. But it has to do with a missing husband and a stalker. So I'm definitely going to read this month. And I think thriller mysteries are just best gone into blind. Otherwise, I know the synopses of these often give away little parts of the story, so I'm just going to avoid it and have fun reading it. This next book, I'm in love with the cover, and the publisher sent this to me with like a sticker that came with it, and these really cute feathers that you'll see on my Instagram page. But this is 142 Ostriches by April Davila. Um, so this is set on an ostrich ranch in California, and that's all I needed to know. And I was like, yes, I will read that and request it. I don't know much else. I know it's a. So the blurb says that it is a story of courage, family, and forgiveness. And I like contemporary fiction, so I'm ready. This next book might be the one out of all of these that I'm most excited about. So, oh, actually, it's right here. So, last year, at the beginning of the year when I first started my blog, I decided that I wanted to do this whole thing where I read every month, I picked a different country and I read books from that country. It was very unrealistic and I didn't stick with it because reading books from one country every month really doesn't give you a chance to read other books that you want to read. So I didn't stick with it, but the one month I did try, I went with China. And I had heard of A Hero Born, which is from the series Legends of a Condor Hero. And I was super intrigued by it. It's a historical fiction fantasy book with kung fu elements in it. So basically it's a kung fu fantasy. I never read anything like it. I do like Chinese literature though, so I was super intrigued by it, but I couldn't find it. I looked everywhere on Amazon, like eBay, I went to bookstores, I couldn't find it. And then 2 months later, I was on either NetGalley or some website like that, and they had it as an ARC. So I wrote to the publisher and they sent me a copy, and it was everything. Like, I loved this story so much. I actually want to reread this if I have time before I get into the next book in the series, which is A Bond Undone. But if you're looking for a really amazing and unique fantasy story that is very unlike anything else that you've read, definitely look for these. This one is published, this one came out in March, or excuse me, it comes out in March of 2020. So give these a shot. I'm really excited to find out what happens next. Next up, we have a book that just got sent to me. I actually think it comes out at the end of this month, so I still have time. This is Max Berry's Providence. I believe this is a sci-fi thriller, and it has to do with an alien race. So I'm very excited for this. I don't know too much more about it. I do really love the cover of this one. And I've heard good things about it. I've seen good reviews of it. So this is one I'm definitely looking forward to reading. The next book is a gothic fiction story set in the English countryside, but is told through a dual timeline. So yes, one character is a governess in the English countryside, but the other part of the story is told through the heir of the estate who is adopted and doesn't know her family history, and she lives in modern day New York. So this is The Woman in the Mirror by Rebecca James. I forgot to say that. I love the cover of it. I love the concept of it. And I feel like this has a really good chance to be one of those really beautifully atmospheric books, and I really hope it is. Next up, we have a new release that's actually coming out either this coming Tuesday or the following Tuesday. Or this is March 2020. But this is Clarissa Gonowan? I probably butchered that. I'm so sorry. This is The Perfect World of Miyaka. I probably butchered that. I'm so sorry. But this is The Perfect World of Miwako Sumeda. This is a story about a young woman's suicide and people trying to figure out why she killed herself. So definitely hard-hitting, definitely not a fun read, but I think it's going to be really interesting. This next book I'm really intrigued by because I've heard some really fun things about it. Like, I've heard that there's a ball of fluff with an IQ in the thousands and like a death-loving android, which was completely enough to hook me. This is The Last Human by Zach Jordan. I'm hoping that it's really comedic, which I'm guessing it has to be, because I love books like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Battlestar Siberia. So I'm hoping this will be kind of like those. Um, I'm super stoked to read this. I love combining either sci-fi or fantasy with elements of humor. And then I've got two books that are the last two books in a trilogy. I am currently reading one of them, so I'm currently buddy reading Thunderhand by Nell Schusterman with my friend Tawny, who is one of my favorite people ever. We're about halfway through this, and it's even better than Scythe. If you haven't read this trilogy, you need to give it a shot. It's set in a world where humans have cured death. So basically, people are immortal, but you have scythes who have the permission to glean in order to keep the population down. And these books are told from the point of view of two apprentice scythes, and it's fascinating. There's a little hut of surprise moments where you're reading it and you're like, how dare they? You know, it's an amazing book. I love it. So we're almost done with this. And then we're going to be reading The Toll by Nell Schusterman, which is the very last book. I have no idea what's going to happen. The last book is really thick. I don't know if it's because Amazon accidentally sent me the UK book. But this is 600 pages. So it's really long, but I know I'm gonna love every moment of it. 3 books left, so we're almost done. So next we have 88 Names by Matt Ruff. He did come out with a book previously that he's known for called Lovecraft Country, but this is his new book, and I'm trying to think of how to describe this. It's kind of cyberpunky. Okay, this is perfect. So it's part cyber thriller, part twisted romantic comedy, which sounds amazing. I know also it has a lot to do with gaming, like RPGs. So I don't know exactly what the plot is, but I know I'm probably going to enjoy this. Next up, we have another nonfiction book, which I actually got yesterday. This is David Ferrier's Footprints. This book reminds me of another book that I love called The World Without You. And that book is basically about what would happen to the planet if humans disappear tomorrow. So it looks at how architecture would decompose, how long plastic would be in the soil and the ocean, and it was a fascinating book. This is very similar. This book looks at what traces of humanity will be left thousands of years in the future. I think it's going to be a really insightful book. I think the topic is really interesting, and I'm just looking forward to it. I'm fascinated by the effect that humanity has on the ecosystem, and this is right up my alley. And finally, so the last book is one that I started reading 2 days ago, so I'm not very far into it. This is Grain Brain by David Perlmutter. Now, the reason I'm reading this is that in the same week, 2 people recommended this book for me. I had a friend recommend it for polycystic ovarian syndrome, which I have, and then a few days later, I went to my psychiatrist, and she recommended it to me for bipolar disorder. So I thought that was a sign. I bought a copy, and I'm currently reading it. Most people have heard of this book. It's been very popular. It came out, was it like a decade ago or in the 90s? I'm not even sure. But it's about the effect that wheat products have on our overall health. Okay, so it was originally published in 2013. And what I've read so far is really interesting. I'm personally hoping that the gluten-free thing doesn't help because I love gluten. Like, before I went gluten-free, my diet was basically bread and pasta, which I know is not the healthiest, but it's so good. Um, so I am gluten-free now for 45 days, possibly longer if it does work. So yeah, I'm super excited about this. I picked up a few cookbooks that I'm going to show in my book haul, which will be coming up soon. But yeah, so this is the last book. I'm currently reading it, and we are done. So I appreciate you guys sticking through all that. Again, I don't think I'm going to get to all 31 of these, but I'm going to try for you guys so that we have a nice long wrap up. Let me know if you guys would prefer that I do weekly wrap ups or a monthly wrap up at the end of the month. I'm open to doing both. Just let me know. I'm also going to do some book reviews on the vlog or on YouTube, but most of my actual book reviews will be on the blog, which is linked down below. And again, thank you guys for watching. This is a terrifying journey. I never thought I would be on YouTube, but it's something that I secretly wanted to do for years. I love the idea of YouTube. So I appreciate you guys sticking through this. The videos are going to get better, I promise. I'm very awkward, and I don't know what to do with my arms, but I'm going to keep filming. And I love all of you guys who have liked and subscribed already. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below and ring the bell to be notified of any new content. You can also subscribe to my blog, and all of my social media is also linked down below. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Bye.